In this bite-sized learning session, we're going to be talking about becoming an active bystander. Now, we have three main learning objectives for this session. The first one, understand why it's important to be an active bystander. Secondly, know how to consider your own safety when understanding how to be an active bystander. And thirdly, master how to give effective and empathetic feedback. Let's start by exploring why it's important for us to have the skills to partake in active bystander intervention. What percentage of people have observed bullying within the workplace? 8, 47, or 65? The answer is 47. 47% of UK workers surveyed have witnessed bullying within the workplace. Here's another question for you. What percentage of people surveyed shared that they had spoken up when they witnessed either discrimination or exclusion within the workplace? Do you think it's 17%, 59%, or 36%? The answer is 36%. So just 1/3 of the UK employees that were surveyed shared that they spoke up when they witnessed either discrimination or exclusion in the workplace. This is why it's so important that we have the skills and knowledge to be an active bystander. Given this data, it is very clear that there is a community need for active bystander intervention. Let's look at some terminology. Firstly, we have passive bystander. Passive bystander refers to somebody who witnesses inappropriate behaviour and doesn't do anything about it. And secondly, we have active bystander. This is when somebody witnesses inappropriate behaviour, whether that is bullying, discrimination, or other types of exclusion, and does something about it. Ideally, everybody would be an active bystander, but oftentimes things stop us from speaking up and taking action. Take a minute to consider what might stop you from being an active bystander. Let's look at 3 things that commonly stop people from speaking up and being an active bystander. This is by no means an exhaustive list. Firstly, we have diffusion of responsibility. This is when we know that there are other people around, other people who could take action, so we just think somebody else will do it. Secondly, we have fear and anxiety. Fear and anxiety are very natural responses and feelings, but this can stop us from doing the right thing in certain moments. And thirdly, we have lack of awareness. Oftentimes, people might find themselves in a situation that they aren't aware of how to handle. This is where training and knowledge comes into play. To help diffuse some of this nervousness and anxiety when it comes to speaking out and being an active bystander, it's really important that we reframe how we think about speaking up or being an active bystander. Firstly, speaking up and giving somebody feedback is an act of care. It shows that you care how other people view them and how they might impact other people's sense of self or sense of belonging. Secondly, we have psychological safety. If we're speaking up for each other and showing people that we exist in an environment where we are supported, seen and heard, it's a lot more likely that you're going to contribute to a psychologically safe environment. Thirdly, we avoid the diffusion of responsibility. It shouldn't just be on other people to speak up and do something. If we see it, it's important that we say something about it. Focusing on reframing being an active bystander and giving feedback as an act of care, I'm going to introduce this 4-step technique that will support you to give empathetic feedback and support to other people. This is called wait a sec. It breaks down your feedback into 4 simple steps. First, we have wait. This could be making sure that the environment around you is the right environment to have this conversation. It could also include making sure that you yourself are emotionally regulated and ready to have this conversation. And then let's move on to sec, meaning situation, effect, and change. So with the situation, we advise you to give your feedback as factually and empathetically as possible. And when we say factually, we all have tendencies to say things like, you always do that, or you always make me feel this way. But we know that factually that can't be the case. And it's very likely that this is going to make somebody become defensive. So when we say stay within the parameters of the facts, talk about exactly what they said or exactly what they did and when this took place. And then we move on to effect. State how you feel and the impact that the situation had on you and others around you if you have consent to share that. Now, we center feelings in this section because feelings are an internal process. Only you can identify and communicate how you feel, and nobody can tell you that you're wrong about your feelings. Thirdly, we move on to change, the last part of the acronym. If you know what behaviour you do prefer or you would prefer in the future, it's really important and useful for you to be able to communicate that. This can help the person on the receiving end to not avoid you or the topic again in the future because they know what your boundaries are and how you appreciate being communicated with and treated. The more people who are trained and skilled and knowledgeable about being an active bystander, the more of an impact we can have as a collective community. Take this call to action and share this training and this means of feedback with your friends, family, and colleagues. Well done for completing this bite-sized learning session where we've been focusing on how to become an active bystander. If you have any questions or comments following this session, please feel free to drop us an email using the address on the screen. Alternatively, you can visit our website, and to catch some behind-the-scenes footage, have a look at our LinkedIn.